Welcome to the Alpha Pursuit to our viewers. So we have a special guest with us, Shweta Doshi. She's a co-founder for Grey Atom, and she's been an edtech entrepreneur for quite a while. So welcome to the Alpha Pursuit, Shweta.
Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for inviting me.
I know that you're doing a lot of amazing things with Grey Atom. So can you give us a sneak peek into what has been your journey?
Yeah, sure. So, Grey Atom, we founded to bridge the gap in terms of the employable skills that are missing in people
Okay.
at either, let's say, early career stage or even at mid career stage in areas of emerging technologies. So, our focus has always been the newer technologies like AI, machine learning, data science, natural language processing, computer vision, full stack web development, DevOps, cloud. So all of these different technologies where, a lot of times what people do is they are looking at a lot of content, reading content, they are, going through video based courses, but the true hard skills and the hands-on skills is something that we've found lacking a lot of times in people,
Okay.
and Grey Atom has been started to bridge that gap where how can we enable people to have more job ready skills which are hands on. That was the problem statement that we took on, and it's been a great journey last 4 years on this path, enabling career pivots. So all our programs are geared up to this, that somebody should be able to get a job in the space where we are upskilling them. So it's just not upskilling, but it's eventually a career transformation for people. So yeah, it's been amazing where so many of our learners, I would say 1,000+ learners, have been able to move into jobs in this space, and their career is progressing now.
That is one. The journey did not begin just with Grey Atom. I think it began in 2016 with Datagiri. That was their initial pet project. How did that initial trigger happen?
So at that point, I was at Nielsen, and data was, the whole data space in India was just taking off at that
Mhm.
point. And Nielsen being Nielsen, the customers were constantly asking for more services beyond what we were doing at that point. And that's when we said that, let's explore what other cutting edge startups, tech companies are doing in this space. And let's find some meetup communities in Mumbai. And honestly, we couldn't find a good meetup community. Like Bangalore, the scene was very vibrant even back then, but not in Mumbai. So we said, you know what, let's build our own community in the space of data science. And we didn't really give it a lot of thought. We didn't know that this is going to happen with Datagiri. So at our first meetup event, 150 people turned up, and we just didn't do any marketing also, right? So we said that okay, there is something that people are getting gravitated towards, and probably that is knowing more from experts who have been there, done it. That's where we said that okay, this is it, and this is what we want to do. We want to bring the real perspective, the real business problems, the real data sets into what we built as our bootcamp program, and have people go through that as they are learning something new, and then that remained to be at the core of our philosophy. That's when then I quit my full-time job at Nielsen. My other two co-founders quit what they were doing as well, and then we bootstrapped Grey Atom. So for initial 6 months, we were completely bootstrapped, and then in September 2017, as we went for our seed funding round.
Society and family are a very important factor in the course of decision making. So if from that aspect, how was the decision making help?
So they've always been very supportive of everything that I have wanted to do, and it was the same thing this time as well. So when I shared that this is something I want to do, and you know what, I'm going to go from this kind of a salary to zero.
Yeah, essentially,
You
yeah.
know, so that was like it didn't move anyone, honestly. They were like, yeah, if you think that this is something that you believe in, this is something that you want to do, you want to try out, go for it. So yeah.
From a decade-long corporate to starting something from scratch, the hustle behind it. So how did that transition happen?
So it was a little painful, to be honest. Initially, I mean, I was like taken aback sometimes that, okay, why am I doing this? Why don't we have some additional support, or why is someone else not contributing here? But then I think those were all very, very initial kind of, I would say, phases. I think as we moved along, I just saw so much value in the first principle thinking and the first principle of doing things as well,
Okay.
right? So, as a founder, the initial year, I sort of wanted to do everything myself before, I say that I've hired this person to do this for me, right? Because I just wanted to make sure that I understand how this thing works first, and then set up the right kind of processes, set up the right kind of funnels or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So when you do it firsthand yourself, you can find so many inefficiencies, so many innovation, ideas for innovating something.
Yeah.
uh, and I think that initial 1 year, we just rapidly executed things, and that sort of set a very solid foundation for everything that was coming ahead.
What were your learnings that you had the second time around?
So I think both of them were very different kind of experiences. This was not like a full-time thing, right? We used to do it only over one weekend in a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
And that went on for about 4-5 months before we said that let's do Grey Atom full time. So not really any experiences to draw from, but what we really were able to draw from there was our ecosystem that we started building. So the
Okay.
great mentors that spoke at Datagiri, became eventually our first mentors at Grey Atom for our
Great.
learners. The companies that came in to partner with Datagiri events became the first companies that hired from our cohorts. So I think that kind of ecosystem is what Datagiri as a community brought to us.
So as an employee, did you have any kind of experience in that? And being a business owner, how did you translate that in your own company?
So, to be very honest, I never felt any kind of gender bias when I was working in, those MNCs where I was. And again, I was at a, slightly mid to senior management level
Okay.
uh, in those organizations. But when I came in as a founder in a company, I definitely saw a stark gender bias
Okay.
here. I mean, it was honestly the other way around. When you are, let's say, leading a tech program,
Mm.
right? I think, first of all, uh, from an outside in perspective, also sometimes you get like a quizzical look, like, really, you would be driving this curriculum?
Yeah.
This
Yeah. Got it.
is
Yeah.
very tech. This is very tech. You would be doing this. So uh, that's one. Secondly, there is not as many female founders anyways around, right?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're always that one lady in the board meeting with,
The odd one now.
you always that one lady in the board meeting, or one lady in a room full of leaders, one or two or three for that matter, right? uh, I'm happy to see of late that is changing quite a bit, but I think it's not still to the extent it should be. So definitely there is bias. I think, who are we kidding? It's there. It's in your face a lot of times. It's just then about how do you, um, navigate through that, and how do you make sure that, however hard you have to work towards making sure that that bias doesn't impact you, or you shoot that bias down in whatever way you feel and whatever is your style, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You do it, but it's there. And uh, I don't know how to change it. Uh, but in terms of, the women employees at Creatum, we definitely take a lot of care in terms of making sure that, let's say somebody just went for a maternity break and then they are coming back.
yeah.
How do we ease them in?
Mm.
Like, it's when they're going, they are transitioning out, like they are doing all the kt to, like, different people in the team, that okay, here's what I was doing on this side, here's what I was doing on this,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
just making sure that that knowledge is passed on. What I did when that person came back from maternity is that we eased her in first, so that they just don't get too overwhelmed by, okay, 6 months in a startup life is a different life altogether. So when they left, it was a different organization. Suddenly when they come back, it can be very overwhelming. So I think some of those things when we do with our women employees, it just makes them feel more at ease even after a major life event. So I don't necessarily, I will not say necessarily that this is a way to protect them from any biases, but it's just a way to make sure that uh, women are able to continue working in a very smooth way, no matter what life changes
yeah,
happen around them.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. Very vocal, person about leaders, and your blog talks about the pros and cons of being a women leader. So can we touch upon the key, thoughts or takeaways that you had from the blog?
There's always this prioritization happening in our lives, right? Where we are on one side, we're working on some important deadline, or working, doing some deep work on a particular project, and on the other side, your kids are demanding your attention for like an important assignment that's coming up next day,
Yeah,
right? And you're always juggling between the two, and I think we are able to do that minute by minute prioritization very well. Like, what's
real
important
time.
right now in real time. You know, Big picture maybe something, but then right now, what's important, and then intuitively you're able to do that. So I think that's one great quality that women have. Hold multiple threads together without entangling anything, like smooth operations of everything at the same time, orchestrating that experience together. That's
Yeah,
something we can do really well. And I mean, that's been one key, I would say, skill that I have been also able to build, and my organization has been benefited by that skill
okay,
significantly. And this is what I personally feel. People may choose to agree, disagree, but I feel that women are also better mentors. Work explicitly as much as men do, but I feel that when we do connect, we connect with people at a more deeper level. The fourth thing is, I think we are able to capture reactions of people very well. So I think we are able to compartmentalize that very well, in terms of people's reactions. So that again helps us take the right kind of calls and right kind of decisions. Those are some things that I feel that we are definitely good at, and we should play on those skills. What we are not good at is, I think, we before we are ready for something, we will not take something up there. I mean,
yeah,
even if I I'm like a 10% unsure. I will pass opportunities how most women will think.
Yeah.
A man, even if he's like 50% there, he'll just go grab it and say, I'll figure it out. Whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens.
Yeah.
So I think we try to be perfectionists in
Yeah.
everything that we do, and we don't take up things that we feel we won't be able to deliver, and then that causes us missing out,
Hmm.
honestly, on a lot of things.
Yeah. Who were the people that you reached out to?
Uh, Not really, and I think that's one mistake I would say definitely that I made early on in my entrepreneurship journey. In my corporate life, I had a lot of mentors, lots, like
Okay.
people who I could go up to for any dilemma that I had in terms of my career, my choices, anything.
Okay.
But when I started the entrepreneurial journey, I pretty much didn't know anyone in the circles, and me and my co-founders, that was my universe of entrepreneurs that I knew in the first year.
Yeah.
But then from there on, I realized that it can't be this way. There's so much that happens in this journey where you want to reach out to somebody who's 5 years ahead of you
Yeah.
to get the right perspective and to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake somebody else already has, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I started building that kind of network a little later in my journey, and so now I do have that kind of a network. And what I also love doing is mentor somebody who's 5 years behind
Okay.
uh, in my journey as well, so that I'm also trying to help make sure that people don't make the same mistakes that I made as well.
Yeah. That is a
So
wonderful way to give back as well.
yeah, and I think it just you learn also so much from that whole process as well.
How easy or difficult it is for a person, not from a tier one institute or an IIM to get funding in this scenario.
I think I don't think the institute where you studied matters that much beyond a
Okay.
point. It's pretty much your idea, the team that you have, what experience, what relevant experience does that team bring to the table? Why is this team starting this startup? Right? Why are they so passionate about this problem being solved? And again, like what stage of the journey you are at. So have you been actually able to prove something? Like at one point a lot of funding was happening at idea stage as well, but
Yeah.
now it's happening a little pre-product market fit. At least there is some kind of um, conviction in the idea. There's some execution that is demonstrable, however small revenue, or even if not revenue, some user base that is loving your product.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 100 users, 150 users, depending on where you are, B2B, B2C, whatever is your model, right? But something demonstrable to show, and I think seed funding pretty much will happen.
Okay.
While I'd like to say no, but I think just after you finished your college and probably dabbled around a little bit for a couple of years with a few things already,
Mhm.
um, and then getting into an accelerator and then starting off, maybe a good point to start.
Okay.
Having
Okay.
said that, I wouldn't say that that's the best and that's the only point to start off with.
Okay.
But in my mind, and again, this is my personal opinion, that at that point, you have a lot of time in your life to uh, do a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
So you can fail at 3 startups, and then finally your 4th startup is successful, and it's okay. But when somebody starts up at an age of 40,
Mm.
and then to tell them that, you know what, fail at 4 startups and then let your 5th startup be the one for you, that's hard thing to do, because
Yeah.
you are not at that stage in your life. Having said that, like, I've seen cases on either sides being successful as well. So I don't think there's a cookie cutter recipe here, but yeah. No, not at all. I don't say that's a requirement as well. Like, there are great startups that I know are completely bootstrapped as well. The
Okay.
problem is that the media will write mostly about this company got funded so much.
Yeah.
That's always in the news. We don't celebrate bootstrap startups as much.
I
I think
agree.
what we should celebrate is, hey, the startup is making so much profit, right? Because so many startups today, they are burning cash
Yeah.
of investors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think what should be being profitable to me has become like very important as an entrepreneur. Um, yes, growth is great in terms of the user growth, in terms of how many signups you have, all of that. But eventually, what moves the company forward is going to be profit. Number one, definitely, it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, if you want a lot of stability in your life, if
Yeah.
you don't want to deal with um, uncertainty, uncomfortable situations, uh, risk, then probably this is not for you.
Okay.
So if you find a problem that is big enough to solve, I think don't get into it because it looks shiny from outside. Get into it if you're passionate about something that deeply bothers you, doesn't let you sleep at night. You think that this is something you are good at and you can solve this kind of a problem,
Yeah.
then get into it. Because if you have that kind of conviction and passion towards a particular problem statement, then no matter what comes in between, you will have ups and downs, but that will be something that will keep you rooted
Yeah.
to the cause go after. It'll take time, so you have to be very patient and keep building till you arrive at that kind of a stage, and keep building till then.
Got it. That is great advice. I mean, perseverance and keep building.